Sure.
Let's say I tell you you can't invest in anything precious metals or miners related. Where are you going to put your money? What would you advise somebody to do if you take those options off the table? $2,000 Tesla stock?
The land of Arcadia.
Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. And for tonight's show, I did a call with Trevor Hall. I guess it was a mix between our show and his show, but it's great. He allows me to post them and fun talk, digging into silver. He had some great questions to go over, bet some things that are on your mind. I shared my best guess, made some good Ben Bernanke jokes, if I recall correctly. And with that said, here you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back into Mining Stock Daily. We have some market commentary with our friend Chris Marcus today. Before we get into this conversation, just a quick look at the numbers. It's about lunchtime here in the Rocky Mountain State, Colorado. Gold's pretty flat, down $11 or a half a percentage point on a futures basis. Silver, that's down about 0.8%, 26.52. The miners for the GDX day, just a little bit of a down day. Seems like a little bit of consolidation. Nothing really crazy happening in the precious metal markets, except what's going on behind the scenes. And that's why we bring in our friend Chris Marcus from Arcadia Economics. Before we press record, Chris, you were asking me, do you really understand what's happening about what could potentially happen with these gold and silver miners and producers? It seems like you got a lot on your chest, my friend. You got to get it out. So let's get it out.
Well, I mean, it was interesting. I was almost going to catch you on your intro there when you said there was nothing happening in the markets until you said behind the scenes. I'm looking at this chart now, and I can't think of any way that any person, any market student would look at some of these gold and silver charts and say that reminds them of a normal distribution, the way, we grew up with this efficient market hypothesis, which I'll try and stay on track, although I could have a field day on that one. The idea that everybody is getting the same information, pricing it in a complete rational manner. When we have Tesla, I guess now is over two. A share of Tesla is worth more than an ounce of gold priced in dollars. And I would suggest that you don't see silver sit there below $20 for 4 years, and then within the span of a month goes up to 29, down to 25, back up to 28. That's not how a pricing normally works. Normally, I don't know, maybe Microsoft, they have a big earnings and they make a lot more money. That's the idea that I believe most people are investing with. And certainly, it's veered far from that. And that is why I wrote that book, The Big Silver Short. Trevor, I think you need to start reading, and I don't use the N-word lightly, but listening or reading your friend Dave Kranzler, who I know is involved with your show. He lays out chapter 1 pretty clearly, and that's why, I'm careful of what the targets I put on there and, and being responsible in that sense. But when you look at what's happening and that you have, Tesla was $225 last September before they started the repo lines. Now it's 2,000. So does it make more sense that Tesla, you can ask Kranzler, I mean, I think maybe they finally had a quarter where they didn't lose money, but a company that by all looks and feels, is kind of hard. It seems like they've never made money except for maybe recently, has gone up 8x. What happens if that happens to silver? And I would say that when you could put this amount of leverage on any market and you'll get this type of price movement. And that's why I don't even think I can grasp it properly, because I talk about the silver manipulation. I know that makes you all giddy and but there's a reason why, and there's a reason why the prices have been so distorted. And then when you factor in that the Fed is guaranteeing that the dollar is eventually going to be worthless, I still maintain my belief that we have not seen anything yet. And to me, it's like, I don't even really look at I'm not giving trading advice. I personally don't care what the price of, I see you're wearing your EMX hat is today. It doesn't matter to me. It's like, talk to Scott Close and David Cole, and then listen to Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Ben Bernanke, and Jerome Powell. And to me, that's the simplest way I can break it down. Who do you want to put your money with? And to me, it seems obvious. Then hammer on the leverage that's unraveling to some degree now, and whenever that finally goes, that's why to me the miners, the ones where you really trust the folks running it.
I'm with you, Chris. I hear what you're saying. I posted on Twitter a couple days ago. I said, listen, if we just stick with gold's trading in 1935. So we're kind of in this range between 1900, 1950. We're trading in there. It seems like we're consolidating. Even with those two big price attacks we had over the last 2 weeks, they're still buying. People are coming in and buying that dip. And this is just an incredible sight to be had. It may not look exciting on the chart. It may just look, like a landscape horizontal move, but this is probably the best thing that could happen for the price of gold. Similar action within silver. But I said, if you look at this, if this stays right here within the Q3 numbers of those miners, and even into Q4, find me another industry that's going to have that type of margin off their products, and I will consider putting my own capital into it. There's nothing that is just blatantly that is right in front of my face that says these margins are just completely outstanding. Can you think of one? Can you think of another industry that's like, well, these margins are, this industry is a cash cow. That's better than mining.
It's like, what would you rather bet on for the third quarter? Tesla's margins or a silver miner?
Yeah.
I know you talk to a lot of them. I bring a lot of them on my show, and it was interesting how they were talking about, it was almost like a life-saving difference when silver was going from $17 to $18, or let alone to $19. So, what do those margins look like? You get a quarter. I guess the Q3 will cover now, and we'll see. I talk a lot about seeing $50 as a floor for silver, and certainly I still maintain that belief. But you don't have to get to $50 for these miners to be doing really well. I had Jack Lundeen of Bluestone Resources on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I was asking him, to put in perspective the gold stocks, how much money they're making at. It's hard to grasp, and I think it'll be great when we see some of these numbers. He mentioned that they haven't even done projections. It's like, well, we had the $1,300 projection, and then the $1,500 projection, and then last month we tacked on. It's like they can't even keep up. And now, whether it's $1,900, it's gone over $2,000 a couple of times, and will it be a straight line? I wouldn't expect as much. But at the end of the day, even with gold at $2,000 and the 10-year treasury of the world's supposed safe haven reserve currency, 0.6%, with the Fed has an inflation mandate of 2%. So basically, they're guaranteeing that you're going to at least get over a 1% loss. So
a wash. Like, why even buy it? Why buy the debt? Why buy a bond?
I know there's a lot of people who think, well, the Fed's going to buy more and push it higher, and there's some truth to that. Although I think that's the exact definition of a Ponzi scheme, except instead of Bernie Madoff, now we have Jerome Powell, and everybody pretends that this is a legal, sane arrangement, and Again, I've been listening to a lot of financial audiobooks like Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, Market Wizards, just hearing throughout time, throughout industry. And this is the same thing that happens over and over again. It's happening now. And yeah, that's the challenge, is that when other people look at you weird and say, why would you want a gold stock, or gold's a bubble, or, but actually, Trevor, I got one for you, if I
All right.
may ask a question.
Sure.
Let's say I tell you can't invest in anything precious metals or miners related. Where are you going to put your money? What would you advise somebody to do if you take those options off the table? $2,000 Tesla stock?
At the current moment, I'd probably chase where the momentum is. To be honest with you, and I've been doing that on the side. I've been doing some trading on some of those big tech stocks the last couple of weeks, but doing all right because I see that's where the momentum is. Be honest with you, on the mining side of things, I'm sitting on I'm sitting on cash, and I'm waiting for, if there is a bigger correction to come, to get back into some positions that I haven't had the chance to get into yet, or missed on the first big move. But as long as I have cash, I have the opportunity to buy, and so that's where I'm heading. On top of that, so I've been able to increase that cash position by doing some trading with some of these big flying tech stocks. You go where the momentum is, and I'm not saying that Tesla and Apple and Amazon aren't overvalued by any means. And yes, there's some shady accounting, if you read about it, that it definitely makes sense, but there's opportunity there. The other thing that I've had some questions about my thoughts on cryptos as a safe haven.
Although, Trevor,
Yeah, go ahead.
if I just 1 second before you switch, I agree with what you're saying there, but leave aside trading or speculating. If you're talking about someone that, your mom, or, someone who's like just saying like, hey, I want my money safe. I mean, would you agree then that it's like there's not really many things you can safely recommend at the way things are priced today, when you have every, negative yielding junk bonds and US treasuries?
Well, like, listen, to simplify it, if you look at the market versus the economy, like, I'm hearing stories, and you lived in New York. I'm hearing stories that even you walked out down the street in Manhattan, it still looks like a ghost town. I don't know if you're hearing the same things from any of your colleagues that live in the city, but from what I've heard is like, it's not nearly as, the hustle and bustle of the Big Apple has not returned. There are still storefronts closed. Main Street is still struggling. I don't even know. Is there still 20 million people unemployed? I don't even remember what the number is. People are angry. People are upset on all different levels. We are kind of at this crossroads where we can't see each other for people. We have to find something to disagree with each other every time, and that's really troublesome. We can't have civilized conversation anymore. It's a really ugly time here in the States, and it's with the election down the pipeline, it's not going to get any better, obviously, the next 3 months. It's tough. So there's so much disconnect between what the market's doing on every different aspect of the market to what the economy really is. But there's a lot of capital on the sidelines. There's trillions of dollars in savings accounts. There's trillions of dollars in new printed money, and it's got to go somewhere. And if it's got to go somewhere, where's it going to go right now? The best place, the best opportunity is right some of those momentum tech stocks. I don't blame people for that, but it is awfully risky and dangerous. You got to get in quick. You got to be a sniper. You got to scalp that stuff. Whereas, thank God for precious metals. Thank God. I mean, I can have capital in the metal. I can have capital in the mining stocks. I'm obviously bullish on mining. I am bullish on some key exploration and core holdings. And then I speculate with a couple companies that I really, really like, and I think have tremendous upside that I think are still really undervalued compared to where they are in the project. Um, but I did really well, and I'm sitting. I'm sitting right now. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be patient like the hawk that sits in my backyard, looks down, tries to find a mice or a snake in the garden. You know, like that's me. That's what I'm doing. I'm waiting, and then I'm going to pounce.
Gee, I'm gonna be careful next time you invite me over in that backyard. It
I
sounds.
thought we were hanging out Friday. Yeah, you got me in public. So
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd still take my chances there than we're at a party with a bunch of treasury investors, but we'll leave that alone. And yeah, it's I don't know what else on a long term perspective, folks.
so
Can
here's one thing that's also, and for everybody who's listening, Chris and I cross promote these interviews, so they're not really interviews; they're more conversations. You know, deep thoughts by Chris and Trev. And so you're going to air this on the Arcadia Economics
Yes,
YouTube
sir.
channel. This will go up on the podcast. These typically turn out to be more than rants and editorials than anything else. Well, you know, one thing that's really bugged me, Chris, lately,
What's that?
this whole and bugs me is like I don't disagree, but I do I don't agree or disagree. But it's this big discussion about cryptos and Bitcoin that all of a sudden, since David Portnoy from Barstool says he's going all in on cryptos, and then he gets the Twinklevoss twins or whatever their last name is, talk about how Elon's going to mine all the gold in the asteroids and make gold price obsolete because there's going to be so much of it. You might have a screen or something. I mean, think about this. If Elon Musk goes to the asteroids to mine all the gold, everybody who owns any gold is going to be rich beyond belief. Elon Musk, well, you know, I guess you could make the argument he only does stuff to make money. He doesn't really make a lot of money, but he creates wealth for himself. But I like the chances if that's the case. But it just goes to show you, like, now all of a sudden there's this debate between the crypto gala about how gold and silver are going to become worthless based on supply. And they're basing their argument on a digital currency that's only been around for a decade based on millennia. And it's like, I think we need to find a way to get that, you know, get that crowd to understand exactly why gold is valuable, how it's produced, why it's not going to become obsolete ever, as much as people try. And there are risks, just like Bitcoin is, right? You shut off the internet, you shut off the electricity, how are you going to get your Bitcoin? Doesn't that make it worthless?
I understand what you're saying. I remember I actually heard a really good response to that exact question a while ago. Maybe I'll recall in a moment what it is. I mean, if they shut off the internet or they shut off the power, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know, you can just shut down cryptos. I mean, I don't know how, but yeah, it's the same. And someone could say, well, you know, I had someone ask me this morning, can they nationalize the mines? I look at it, there's no guarantees in life. You know, are you going to make
There's
it
always a
across
risk.
the street? With that said, I mean, I know there's a lot of this animosity between crypto people and metals people.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, me for one, like, obviously, like, I believe in what precious metals are and what it represents. I don't disagree with Bitcoin at all. Like, I fully support if the market claims it as a safe haven, the market is willing to adopt it as a safe haven. I'm not going against the market. Like, I can accept it. Now, do I see risks involved in cryptos and Bitcoins? Absolutely. But there's risks involved in precious metals as well.
There's risks, and people want absolutes, I guess, is the way we've been conditioned. And, you know, and that's, you can want that, and that's fine. I guess that's why the trading floor is helpful to me. It's great training in distinguishing between what you want or what you think is fair and what's going to happen. I guess partly I think, I love silver, big silver
I've
advocate.
heard.
With that said, I mean, let's say, you want to go live another country or you want to go travel somewhere and you have $20 million of silver. I look at them as different tools where, then in that case, having liquidity or maybe, crypto serves a different purpose where you can go somewhere else. I know there are gold and silver backed cryptos. At the same time, if you told me 98 or 99% of the cryptos out there today are complete junk and will be obsolete, I wouldn't doubt that. But to the degree, I guess I've always been, I think the first time I heard about Bitcoin was in 2011. And it was when I was talking to a friend used to buy silver from him. He worked for Peter Schiff's precious metals dealership. And we would talk about the silver manipulation. We'd talk about Austrian economics. And when I find someone is seeing the same reality that I am, and then he was talking about Bitcoin, it seemed to me that it was developed by someone with a libertarian mindset that saw the same issues. And to the degree that, let's say you want to hire a web developer in Taiwan this afternoon, what are you going to shave off a fraction of your gold coin and mail it? I look at, forget Bitcoin for a second and whether it's worth $3,000 or $20,000. The blockchain represents, I think, picture Visa or MasterCard instead of whatever stereotypes people have. And maybe one last thing I might point out, I see Bitcoin today is $11,745. So it's been around, what was it, 2009, I think it was invented.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the right date or not. So 10, 11 years now. I mean, yeah, there's been great price volatility. I would never say that the prices I don't expect the price of gold and silver to be stable or the price of Bitcoin. I think it's really the dollar that we will see collapse, yet right now it's worth almost $12,000. And if it was hackable, my understanding, and I know there's, if there's a crypto expert, hopefully I'm getting this close, but I don't believe anyone has ever actually hacked Bitcoin. Now there have been exchanges that people have lost their keys, and if someone does shut down the internet, I don't know what would happen there. But to me, and again, I'm not telling anybody else what to do, but why I would feel comfortable if I bought certain tokens at a level I liked. I mean, the market cap's 216 billion. So if someone knows how to steal it. So again, I look at them as tools. I don't think we need to convince Bitcoin or anybody of anything. I don't think anybody needs to do anything. Do I think that it's a great market, especially for mining companies or gold and silver folks? I find when you explain it well, people get it.
Yep, I do too.
And there's also, I've met some, we have a meetup group. There was a guy who came once, nice guy. He didn't even want to hear about the other cryptos. He was like, there's Bitcoin and there's everything else. And he didn't want to hear about gold or silver. And that's fine. So that's what Austrian economics promotes, competition of currency. Let the market sort it out rather than the US government and the military when you're forced to use something. Similarly, I know metals people that will probably never, I don't know. Do you think we'll ever see Dave Granzler own a Bitcoin? So, I mean, the concept could be valid. It could be the greatest thing ever. Some people probably won't use it, but that's the whole point. Whatever suits someone, doesn't have to be one size fits all. And, I mean, I find many of the criticisms about Bitcoin pricing, well, it goes up and down a lot. I mean, I'm invested in silver because I expect it, hopefully, wildly volatile to the upside. And again, back to what we were saying earlier, to me, I think it's unfortunate the U.S. government, central banks, and all of the way this Wall Street system is set up removes. It's like, I know you talked about you're doing some trading, but it's like right now, I mean, typically cash in the bank would be the safe thing.
Absolutely.
that's like I mean, you're getting a guaranteed loss. And that's if they don't steal the cash, or even if you put it under your mattress, the Fed is hyperinflating the currency. So there's, if that helps folks to think about it in that sense at all, but it's like really like, okay, fine, sell the metals, don't invest
Right.
in the miners, but like,
Well,
where do you put it?
one of the things that's easy to show um, is really when you talk about the value of the dollar. And I've been sharing this within my own uh, personal network of friends outside of the business, but it's all right. Here's your updated DXY chart, and look at that plummet. Look at that windfall down. It's in a really interesting spot right now, where it could go almost anywhere. I expect it to drop down to those levels we haven't seen since about the great financial crisis 11 years ago. I think it can get pretty ugly. Once we get to that point, I think there's going to be a lot of fear that sits in about the US dollar and the power of your purchasing power of that currency. It'll be an interesting time. I mean, then once you show them that chart, they can get it. People understand.
I mean, it's not an accident that this is happening. I mean, again, it's the ultimate the emperor's really naked moment. I don't find
and I think honestly, Chris, I think that there's a lot of political partisanship about, well, why don't we have a stimulus plan? Why aren't we printing $3, $4, $5 trillion more to help with the economic recovery for the people? Well, I think about what difficult position they are in. If they don't do it, then the economy continues to suffer and may actually be the cover on the book finally. But if they do print it, look at where the dollar is. I mean, if they print trillions of more, that DXY chart, I wholeheartedly expect that thing to drop hard. So I think the Fed, the Treasury, they are all in a really tough place right now because of where the dollar is.
I mean, I agree and would phrase it differently. It's past the point. It's like the guy borrows the money from the bookie, gets loaded, hits the blackjack table, the money's gone. You can keep doubling down, but it's like the thing is bankrupt.
Absolutely.
And at least to me, I mean, that's the whole core premise of Austrian economics, and that's why they've always talked about that's the whole point of what gold and silver accomplish when they're used as money. It prevents this from happening, because when you give politicians and bankers the ability to print money at will, history has shown they don't have good restraint and guidance. And so you print some more and then you try and undo it. That's when the bubble pops. It wasn't an accident that the housing bubble popped when it did, because Greenspan took rates down to 1% for a year. And when he tried to raise them, he was even advocating. You can look this up. In February of 2004, there's Greenspan extolling the virtues of the adjustable rate mortgage product. Well, that's great, except by June of that year, he started raising interest rates. So people's payments went up. When you give the teaser credit, of course. So, but the more you dig that hole, all right, fine. Thing collapses. What did they do? They turned on the hyperdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Look at, I mean, if anyone's listening at home on the radio and can't see the screen, pull up the Tesla chart. Look, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence that the thing's gone vertical since the Fed started the repo lines. It was $200 a year ago, $225 on September 3rd. And somehow that company, I mean, I guess if someone thinks that's
momentum,
unconnected, but I mean, we'll put it like this. If the Fed stops printing, watch how quickly And we saw it. We saw it at the end of 2018. Tried to raise interest rates, got to 2.25%, 2.5%. Thing was melting down.
So for like 3 weeks.
So you're right, Trevor, where that's, and again, that's why I felt as comfortable as I have. I mean, I didn't just lightly say, I'm going to go around, tell the world, silver's a really good deal. I mean, I remember it's like, yeah, well, you sure you're ready to stake your career and reputation on it? But I mean, that's what allowed me to feel that way, is understanding the credit cycle and what happens. Ben Bernanke talked in 2010, the virtuous circle that we're going to get from quantitative easing. He doesn't mention that you're going to get the exact opposite when you try and remove it. So they can't remove it. They will never remove it. The system will not be able to function under the current arrangement. So to me, it was always either A, they hyperinflate, which I think is what they'll most likely do, because that's always the more politically savvy. It's easier to do nothing than to actually cut the debt. So they'll probably do nothing but print. And I think that's unfortunate that people who have sworn an oath to serve a country are doing things that are highly fraudulent, in many cases illegal, against the spirit of the law, immoral, whatever you want to call it. I do my best not to sit there and dwell on that, but in terms of they're already doing unlimited QE. The only thing they can do is more of it. And yes, you will see, the stocks in that environment continue to go up. Maybe Tesla will be $3,000 by the next time we do a call. Yet, I'll tell you what, I think that we're starting to see the unwinding of the leverage on the COMEX. We're seeing record deliveries of the metals, record demand. I mean, you can talk to a bullion dealer anywhere in the world, they'll tell you the same thing. I don't think it's COVID that's slowing these things down. I took a tour of the Denver Mint. The whole thing's like entirely automated. And it hit me the other day. I'm like, the mints are saying they're slowing down because of COVID. I mean, the only people there were the ones that were on the tour. So I don't think these things are an accident. And, by the time it all sorts out, I think even, Tesla can go up eightfold. I am thrilled that I can buy these silver stocks. And for anyone listening, I mean, I'm not just saying this. Any money that I earn, I put into bullion or silver miners after I pay for whatever living expenses. And, we've talked about the reasons why. Even if silver's like $50 and Tesla's like $4,000 a share, and the Fed's, I think they're cooking up something for September, it sounds like, or at some point be on the end of the year.
Yeah. Sounds like we might, there's still talk about yield curve control. So we'll see.
Translation, more printed money. And LTROs, QE. I wonder who's the guy they have coming
September,
up.
You know what? It's going to be, we got to get this wrapped up, Chris, but it's going to be 2 interesting months ahead. We're going to have the announcement by the Fed that could have repercussions with the precious metals, potentially to the upside. So hopefully the ideal situations, we see a few weeks of consolidation here and then another big move in precious metals. That's what I'm kind of hoping to see. And on top of that, in October tends to be a very volatile time in the overall market. So we could see that as well in October with the month leading up to the general presidential election. If you thought August was volatile, just wait until September, October. It's going to be interesting. So maybe you and I should connect here in a month or two and see how those ideas are panning out.
Yeah, and actually, if I can add one last thing, maybe we can check back in on. Did you know that silver this year has gone from $18 to $27, $26, whatever it is now? First Majestic Silver is actually down on the year. So again, I hope people always do what feels right to them, but I don't know which seems better, paying $2,000 for Tesla that maybe finally turned one quarterly profit or something like that, or First Majestic Silver, that has another $9 added to their margin, in context with everything else we just discussed. And I think there will be a beach ball effect at some point. And who knows, maybe when we check in next time, it'll have happened by then. But that's what I'll be
Might be
keeping an
right.
eye on.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, my friend. It's a pleasure as always.
Chris Marcus with Arcadia Economics. And I'm Trevor Hall with Mining Stock Daily. So thanks again. We'll be back later with some more market commentary. We're actually going to be talking about the Pebble Mine with a few expert geologists. So stay tuned.
All right, so that is tonight's episode. Do check out Trevor's Mining Stock Daily podcast. It's great, especially if there's a company you're interested in finding out more about. I love going there, and if he's interviewed them, usually pretty helpful. So with that said, thank you again for being here. Hope you're having a great day out there, and I will see you again soon.